Welcome back to Art of Awkward, everyone. Today we're going to do the next part of this wonderful world of Atem. As promised, the last piece of this history was followed by the death of a PC. This PC's lifespan has not been disclosed to them. The many years that they've been alive has been fractured and not exactly easy for them to track. But as was discussed, the creation of Golden Scale happened shortly after the fall of the Green Queen's regime. And everything just kind of came crashing down, and there was this great void where there was once a form of structure. The creator for Golden Scale, being a golden dragonborn, who wanted very much to be able to create a world of equality that he just wasn't able to see, created Golden Scale and took hold of the town called Weidenbaum. Weidenbaum had a long list of elite and rich that had lived within this place. Manors lined most of the hilltops, and even greater wealth sat nestled between mountains and babbling brooks, and the great shoreline that skirted the outsides of Weidenbaum, it being a port city. That brought in quite a bit of its own types of trade from other places within Atem, as well as potentially exports to other worlds and other continents that the PCs haven't made to yet. But that being said, the Golden Scale had a long history of using threat and pain to get exactly what they wanted. What they want is the rich to completely give up or allow them as Golden Scale to manipulate their money and their own power to create what they feel like is their own version of equality. This, of course, has failed, as even within our own real reality, people who are given the choice of how money is, disseminated into the community or distributed into the community, doesn't always work out, and the human condition exists even in fantasy lands, and the Golden Scale is widely corrupt. There is very much the use of these exploits are not being used to actually help the people anymore, and certainly not by the time that the PCs actually interact with this section of the world. But this particular PC is Adelaide von Rodel. Adelaide was born into the Rodel family as the firstborn. She had a wide and promising future, doing pretty much anything that she so desired. Her father was stern and a bit cold-hearted, but their mother was a kind bridge between everything and did what they could to be able to protect them as best they could. About 2 or 3 years after the birth of Adelaide, another child was born to them under the name of Saline. Saline was a bit of a strange child, but she cared fiercely, and she put all that she could into everything that she did, including wanting to make a better future for everything that she saw burning around her. Golden Scale came to knock on their door once Adelaide had reached the age of about 12. She was brought out into the street, and she was torn apart by a person and a golden dragonborn called Anella Spine. They were a performer who used razor whips in a lot of her presentations of things. And as the Von Rodels had completely resisted a golden scale in all of its formation. Their father, again, being a very cold-hearted man who had no intention of giving in to such people. Adelaide was killed. She was slated to be executed, and she was, in the square of Weidenbaum. She was very much torn apart by the razors, and it was something to where not much was left of her that was recognizable. And the pieces that were brought back to the family sent a very clear message of, fall in line or fall apart. Just as the pieces of Adelaide, being barely cubed pieces of her, were returned to them, a seed was planted in Saline. A child of about 10 had had about enough of watching her friends be torn apart, having watched her sister be torn apart. Other children that she had grown up with for so long, she had watched them hurt. And she wanted something better, and she wanted something more. And so, Saline, on her path to lichdom, was born. And a pact had to be made. She called out to the white aspect of Tiamat. She called out to the mouthpiece and called for the destruction of Golden Scale and for protection over people who were young, like her sister, like everyone. She was bestowed the power and a golden mask. And the great tirade of Saline was born, with the sacrifice in exchange for that power being the lives of her parents. So now orphaned and entirely alone, Saline began her rise and descent into madness and darker magic to bring back her sister and protect everyone as best she could. We'll elaborate more on the history of Saline and other parts of this great world of Atem in the next part. See you then.